We're going to build a simple contact book in Python. It's going to be a mini project, and our contact book is going to do a few things. It's going to let users add contacts, for example, the name and phone number. A user can view all contacts, search for a contact by the contact name, and also exit the program. It's going to be a simple command line interface application. And the only challenge that I'll have for you after we've done this is for you to break it down and make it more modular. We've looked at how to write modular and clean code before. Our code is going to be clean, but I would like you to make it modular in multiple files later on after we've written it. But just to get us started, we're going to start by just doing a simple breakdown. So first, we need to sort of pick a data structure that we can use here, right? So let's just go to our code editor. I've created a file here. I've called it contact underscore book.py. So we need to define a data structure. For us to store our contacts, we need to figure out what our contacts looks like, right? So our contact has the name of the person, right? Let me just write this as a comment. A contact has the name of the person and the phone number of that person, or the contact of that person, right? So these are two things that you have to store, and you have to store them somewhere, and you have multiple of them that you'd like to store. So how you'd ideally go about this, if it is to store a specific contact of a person, then you'll have to sort of define them in a dictionary. A dictionary becomes the best way for you to store this, right? Well, because each dictionary can represent a contact with a key and a value. So a key could be name and the value could be phone. So it would look like this. So you're going to have, okay, let me just get, okay. So you'll have name. This is going to be a string. So you'll have a string like name there. Then you'll define the name of the person. So the name of the person could be Jendo. Then you'll have comma and then define the other one. The other thing is the phone number of this person. So you'll have the phone number, and the phone number could be let's still make it a string as well. Let's say 0112345, those numbers there. So this is a dictionary. Again, I'm just commenting everything out to see this, but you can still uncomment it to see what you get. But this is how you store the contact of each person. But now you have to store multiple of these contacts. So how do you go about storing multiple of these contacts? We've seen how you can represent multiple items. The best data structure that we've seen up to this point that can allow us to store multiple items at the same time is a list. So we can have a list of contacts. Each of the contact is a dictionary. So I hope this logic makes sense up to this point, because defining the best data structure is really, really important, and it dictates how the program is going to run all through. Let's start with that. So we're going to define a variable, declare a variable, and we're going to create a simple list, an empty list. So our empty list is called contact. Actually, we just call it contacts because we're going to store multiple of them. So I have an empty list called contacts, where we're going to store everything. The first thing I want us to do is let's just define a simple menu first. So we use a simple menu that users can be able to use to interact with our contact book applications. So I'm going to we'll create a simple function, and I'll just call it display menu. And all this function does is it just displays the menu. So you can print a simple statement here. And then this, I'll just use a backslash and just to add some space here. Again, this is just for simple formatting here. And then we'll have something that says, let's say like contact book, and it's something like that. That should be enough. Then we'll print the list of contacts now, or rather the list in our menu. So the first operation that someone needs to do is, let's say they need to add a contact. So they can add a contact. Then the other option that a user has is, for example, viewing all contacts. Just say view all contacts. Should be a lowercase o, view all contacts. And the other thing that a user can do is a user can search for contacts. These are the main functionalities that we want to give our application. And the final thing is that a user can exit from the program. So this is the simple menu that we need. That should be able to handle everything that we need. Now let's start with the main functionality of this application. The main functionality that we need is we need to be able to add a contact. Right? Before we even get to adding a contact, let's just quickly run our program. Python 3 contactbook.py. And of course, it doesn't display anything because we haven't called our function, but it's all good up to this point. So let's go ahead and add a contact. So we're going to use a function to add a new contact, but we need to prevent duplicates. So in this case, out of all the data types that we've seen, or other data structure that we've seen, the only data structure that allows us to prevent duplicates is a set. So the one thing that we don't want to duplicate are the names. You usually see whenever you're trying to even add contacts to your phone, you can't add the same name, or it already tells you earlier on that the name already exists. So a set is going to allow us to not to have duplicates of names. So we're going to create a set of names. So we'll just call it name set, and we're going to create an empty set like that. Then we can define a function that we'll use to add contact. So I'll just call it add underscore contact. And in this function, we're going to ask our users to add a contact. So the first thing they need to add is the name of the contact they want to do. So this is the input function, of course, to do this. We tell the user to enter name. So once they enter the name, this is a part that is really important. We need to make sure that we get rid of any extra white spaces that might exist there. And we also need to just work around this to make sure that we format it correctly. So to do that, we use the .strip method, the .strip method and the .title method. So .strip and .strip.title. Right, so once we do this with the .strip and .title, we're able to format the name correctly. Then we're going to just check if the name is available in the set. We just say if name in names underscore set. If a name is already in the set, we're going to just tell the user that the contact already exists. So we'll just say here contact already exists. That should be able to help it, and then we'll just return like that. Okay, so this should be name set. Okay, yeah, it should be names because there's multiple names. In my head, I thought I already made it names. Then the other thing that we need from our user is you're trying to store a contact, so you need the phone number. So in this case, again, can you just use input? So tell our user to enter phone number. Enter phone number, and we need to close this. Okay, so I need to get rid of one quote here. Okay, that should be good. So and then again, we still need the .strip to the .strip method. This is going to get rid again of any white spaces that might be there. Then in this case, once you have the two, we can now create our contact. So we have the name and the phone, so we can create our contact. How the contact look like I've mentioned, this is going to be a dictionary. Dictionary is a set of key value pairs. So we're going to have name. So name is going to be the key here. Name, okay, should be name. And in this case, we're going to take the variable name, of course, that we have there, the name that we're getting from our user. Apart from name, we're going to need the phone. So phone is the contact in this case. Again, this is going to be phone that we're getting from the user here in line 22. Once we get the contact, we need to store this contact. So to store the contact, remember we created a contacts list at the beginning. So that is where we're going to store it. And remember the list operations that we talked about. We talked about the .append method. So we'll just say contacts.append. And in this case, we append the contact that we just created in line 23. So this is going to happen at every point. Then once you've created a contact, the one thing that we also need to store is the name. So in this case, we just store the name in a set. So we'll just say names underscore set dot add. We're going to add the name to the set. This is again to make sure that we avoid any duplicates because names are not supposed to be duplicates. So we don't want to have a case where you have duplicate names. And we can just write a simple statement at the end to format and tell the user. Here we'll tell the user that they've added a contact. So just pass in the name just like that and tell them maybe the name has been added successfully. So as simple as this, we've been able to add a contact. So again, simply what you're doing here, we're getting the input from our user, the name and the phone number. We're creating the contact using a dictionary. Then we are storing the contact in the list of contacts that we have there. Then we print a statement to our user to tell them that the contact has been stored successfully. So in this case, you can be able to just add a contact, everything. So in this case, I'm going to try to print contacts. Remember, you have to call most of this. You have to call most of these functions that are here for them to work. So we'll just wait once we create a main program to loop through. We can even just create the main program right now, honestly. So let's create the main program that is going to loop through to help us add the contact, right? So we'll use a simple while loop. So we'll use a simple while loop that should be able to handle everything. So we'll just say while true. Again, this also allows for continuous looping. We want to display the menu. So once you display the menu, then users can start, looking at everything. Then we need to get a choice from a user. So choose here, we use the input function. So just say input, and we're going to ask a user to choose an option. So tell our user here, choose an option, and the option is 1 to 4. So they choose an option of any of those, and we'll use simple if statements to do a specific thing. So for example, if the choice is 1, then we tell them the choose one is adding contact. So add underscore contact. We just call the add contact method, which we just created here. So we can be able to add a contact in this case. The thing that we need to do right now is we need to be able to view the contact. And so far we haven't written the logic to view the contact. So let's do that right after adding contact here. I'll just minimize this for now. So after add contact, what you need next is a method to help us view the contact. So just say view underscore contacts. Should be end here. View underscore contacts. And all this does is just view the contacts that we have in the list. So we'll just check first. If not contacts, this means that there are no contacts. Then we'll just print a statement here that says no contacts found. No contacts found. Then after that, we just return. It's like before. But if there are contacts, then we're going to print a statement that will just format everything here. Can use just a simple formatting here to tell the user that these are all the contacts that they can view. All contacts, simple like that. So once we have all contacts, then we can list out these contacts to them. Remember, we're storing these contacts in a list. So the thing about list is that we can iterate through a list to print every other item in that list. So we'll do exactly that. So we'll just try and iterate through the list differently. Again, this is just a way for us to understand the menu is that we can do iteration. We still use a for loop. So we're going to say for index and the contact in that index. For index and contact in the list. So we'll just say in, then in this case now, we use the enumerate method or function. So dot enumerate, and in this case, we're going to give it the contacts list that we have, and we tell start to be 1. So once we do this, we can now print out everything in a formatted manner. So we'll just go ahead and print. We'll have an F string like that. And here, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have the index. Of course, the index of the contact should be IDX. Then we'll have the contact name. So we'll have the contact name here. Should be contact. And for the contact, we want the exact name of this person. So in this case, I'll just use single quotes here. Again, whenever you're working with the single and double quotes, if you're going to have another quote inside the other quote, it should be of a different size. So if the outer quote is a double quote, the inner quote should be a single quote. If the outer quote is a single quote, the inner quote should be a double quote. Yeah, just I hope that is clear there. So we have the contact there. Again, all we're doing here is simple formatting, then the contact name and the contact itself. So here we'll have again contact. Then in this case, now we access the phone. So we'll just say phone like that. So this is how you access the elements in your contact and how you view them. Let's try to do this. So we're going to add another choice here. So we'll just say elif if the choice is two. If the choice is two, we want to, if the choice is two, we want to view the contact. So in this case, we call view contact, view underscore contacts like that. So let's go ahead and also we're just going to add an else. For now, we're going to add some other elifs in between, but let's just have an else at the end here, just in case. Then the else is in case someone makes an invalid choice. You just tell them invalid choice, and because we have a while loop, they can still try again. So we'll just tell them, please try again. Okay, so let's run this program. I'm going to expand the terminal. We're going to run it again. You see, we have contacts, choose an option. I want to add a contact first. Then you see, it tells me here, invalid choice, try again. The reason it's telling me this is because let me just exit here, control C. The reason it's doing this is because of how I'm handling my if statements here in the choice. So because I'm using an input function, that means that the input that I'm getting is a string by default. So if I need this to work, also need to the comparison here to be between strings, not between a string and an integer. So if we run this again, now it says add contact. I'll just add one. Then you see it has taken one. Now it tells me to enter a name. So let's say the name is Jake. Then enter phone number. I'll just say 011234567 like that. And you see it says Jake has been added successfully in the phone number. Now I can try to view all contacts. I'll just select two. Then you'll see it says all contacts. So far, the only contact that we have is Jake, and you can see it here. So I believe this is clear to this point. So I'm going to just exit for now. Then we'll continue writing the program. So now that we're able to view the contacts and add the contacts, the only thing that is remaining is searching for a contact. So how do we search for a contact? Again, it's going to be pretty direct on how we're going to do this search part on how to search for a contact. So we're going to just write a simple function, and I'll call this function search underscore contact. Should be an N, search underscore contact. And for you to search a contact, of course, you search it in the contacts, right? But first, our user needs to give us the search name. So we need to get that input from our user. So we'll have search name. Again, we use our input function. Tell our user to enter a name to search. So we say enter a name to search. So once they enter the name to search, and the one thing that we need to do as always here is we need to just format it correctly. So just say dot strip. Okay, should dot strip and dot title. So once we do this, we have a search name. Then we're going to define or declare a variable here and define it. It's going to be very important in a moment. We're going to see how this is the case. I'll declare a variable here called found, and I'm going to give it a boolean as its value. In this case, I'll give it false. Right, so this is important. Again, I'm sure you've already figured out how I'm going to use this, but I'll just have a simple for loop to iterate through the contact list. So we'll just say for contact in contacts, right? Remember, contacts is the name of the list. So we are saying for contact in contacts. Remember, when you're using a for loop, you can always use a call any variable here, but calling it like this makes it way easier for us to read and understand. So for each of the contacts that is in the contact list, we're going to check if the contact name is equivalent to the search name, the search term that the user has given us. So we'll say if contact, and then we're going to just check the name of that contact. This name, we're going to compare it with the search name. that has been provided. So if they're equivalent, then it means that you've already found the name that you are looking for. So we'll just print a simple statement that tells you something like found, and will tell you the contact that you just found, right? So I'll just tell you here, contact should be lowercase, uh, contact like that. Then remember here in this case, we need to give this person both the name and the contact name. So we'll do this, and we'll just do again, contact. This contact should be lowercase. I'm going to just edit that in a moment, and the phone. So this part here, this C should be lowercase because we are referring to the contact that we have here. So when the contact has been found, we just print a simple something like that. And then we're going to update the value of found to true, because initially we initialize it to false. So if something has been found, then just update found to true. Then we can simply break out of the loop because we've already found what you wanted. If it is not found, so in this case, just say if not found. In this case, that means if false, that is like an else for this. If a contact is not found, we'll just print a statement to the user and tell the user that the contact has not been found. So just say contact not found, like that. So we have everything already set at this point. The only thing that is remaining is us adding the search contact to our list, to our list of conditions here. So say Alif, if the choice that a user is going to make, if a user chooses 3 in this case, then that means the user wants to search the contact. So search underscore contact just means the user wants to search if they choose 3. Then the other thing that remains here after searching is just breaking out of the loop. So we'll just have another elif here. If the choice is going to be 4, if the user chooses 4, then we're going to print a simple statement to them. Again, feel free to just customize this to your own liking. We just tell the user uh, goodbye, and we'll simply break out of the loop because the user wants to exit. Now, let's run our program. I hope you've been following up to this point. In case you feel that I've gone a little bit too fast, again, feel free to just go back and watch it slowly as well to understand what you've done. In case you have a question on why we made us certain decisions that we made throughout the series, let me know in the comments below. So now let's run our program. We want to add a contact. So I'm going to add a simple contact. I'll say the name is again Jake. Phone number, I'll say 0123456789. Then I'll add another contact again. Let's say in this contact is Jen. Phone number 123456789. And what else can we do here? We can try to view first. So I'll select 2. Then you can see here, let me just expand this one more time. You can see it says all contacts. We have Jake there, and we also have Jen here. Then the other thing that is remaining is try to search. So I'll try to search. It tells me enter the name to search. I'll try to enter Jake, but in this case, I'll put the J as lowercase. If we hit enter, you'll see that it says it has found Jake. Found Jake, that is the Jake, right? So I can try to search again. Let's try to search Ken. We don't have Ken in our program. You run, it says contact not found, right? So you can try again if you wanted to, and you can also exit with 4. As you can see, our program is working perfectly up to this point. So just quickly, what we've been able to do with our program here, we first started by, of course, choosing the best data structure for storing the contact, and the contacts also storing them in a list. Then we had a function for displaying the menu. Then because we don't want a case where there's a repetition on the names, we used a set to store, created a set of names. Then we defined a function for adding the contact. So we add a phone number and contact. Then we append the contact that we've just created to the contacts list that we have here. And then we can just print a statement to our user to tell them they've added the contact successfully. The user can go ahead and view their contacts. So you can see how we've added that there. Then a user can also search for their contact. And this is how it is here. So, like I mentioned earlier on, when you were starting to write a Python program from the beginning, the concepts as you grow with them, you realize that there are multiple ways that you can apply them to do different things. So, for example, you've seen how you can build a simple phone book or contact book with using the simple skills that you've learned up to this point. There's a way that you can even stretch them further, right? So one thing that you'll notice from this program that you've written is that we are not storing the contacts anywhere in some sort of file that is a bit more permanent, not really permanent, but in a way that you can be able to access them anytime, even after you've terminated the program. We're going to learn that when we start looking at error handling. But at this point, I'm happy that you've done what you've done up to this case. I'd like you to try and stretch yourself further, see how you can extend this program or even write a similar program, right? So you can even write a simple program to help you manage your classroom or manage inventory somewhere, and you'll just use the simple skills that you've learned up to this point. Okay, thank you. That is the wrap on our simple contact book mini project. Try expanding it or recreating it from memory to solidify what you have learned. We're going to go ahead and handle some of the other concepts in the upcoming videos. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a favorite, for example, contact name that you have in the comments, just for fun. Yeah, so see you soon.